Hi, I'm Yaniv. I'm the founder and CEO of Change Labs. I have Asaf Priel, which is our VP product and co-founder with me. At Change, we're developing a personal CFO that can automatically improve financial health for millennials in America. The way that it works is people link their bank account to our service, and the AI behind the scenes analyzes money transactions over time and constantly making short-term predictions. We know how the account is going to look like in 3 to 5 days' time. And based on those predictions, we make decisions on a daily basis and actually taking actions by making micro-transactions in behalf of our clients. I want to show you a typical millennial and their balance throughout the month. This is how it looks like. It's very sporadic. You have payroll coming in every once in a while, usually twice a month. You've got student loans repayments. You've got credit cards to pay. And every once in a while, you get into an overdraft situation. In the States, when you get into an overdraft, you get hammered with overdraft fees. That kind of situation generates financial stress. It's not healthy for anyone to be in that kind of situation, especially not when they're trying to, move forward financially. Imagine if this could look like that. So this is exactly what we do. We smoothen their cash flow, have their payments done on time, and get them to avoid overdraft and then avoid overdraft fees. And that magic is being created behind the scenes by taking small decisions and moving small amounts of money into these short-term goals so that they can be ready when payments are due. So you've got student loans payment and they're not affecting your cash flow because they've been taken out of the account over time. And you've got your emergency fund that is being built up, and everything is smooth and cash flow is healthy. And this is how we basically build financial health from the beginning. But we go even further for our customers. So if you come up short and the money that we send out, these short-term goals, is not enough, then we cover you. We cover you with an interest-free credit line that can either cover your overdraft if you're at risk of an overdraft, or cover your payments if you come short with paying a bill or repaying your student loans. And that's the basic experience we provide. So, like I said, we're tapping into the millennial mindset, so it's a kind of a laid-back experience. We come to you with nudges, either through simple texting or Facebook Messenger. We've got links incorporated in those messages, so when you tap the link, you can get into a very specific kind of information that is enhanced. You can see your risk of an overdraft, for instance, and you can decide to move forward and take that credit, interest-free credit credit line. You can see your emergency fund, and you can see insights that we're sending out to you on a daily basis. And this is how we grow. So we're all about providing that artificial intelligence capability to our community and letting them grow that community. So you start off with $100 of an interest-free credit line, and if you want to boost that up to $250, then you have to refer the service to your friends and get them to sign up. So when your friends sign up, your credit line goes up. And we're also introducing a different way of paying for those services. So basically what we say to our community is you should pay what you think is fair to give for the service. When you get that credit line and you get it for free with no interest paid, you're asked to tip us. These tips are coming back to that cash pool and supporting more and more cash advances that we can provide to a larger community. And you'll be surprised to see that people do show their gratitude. 70% of the people that do use that credit line are tipping us and generating a substantial revenue stream. We also introduced fees lately so that if you want to expedite the deposit process, you can do that. We're on top of the ACH platform in the United States. It sometimes takes 1 to 2 business days for money to move back and forth. So if you want to expedite that process, you can pay a small fee. And we're now thinking of introducing a subscription to just automate the entire process completely. So we are Change. We're trying to transform the way people manage their money, and we try to drive change in terms of financial health. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, BBVA. Thank you, Asaf, and all my team. My CTO, Dima, who's our co-founder. It's a huge journey. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations. Well done, Change. And if you'd like to drop that in on your way. So congratulations to these guys, and also congratulations to our startups. And if you haven't already been to Startup City, you might want to go over there and see them too. Now, as the founding trustee of a space mission, Lunar Mission 1, I find it pretty exhilarating when we're trying to solve a problem for our mission. And we realise from what we're developing, the knock-on effect that it's going to have for applications back on Earth. It's a really interesting position to be in, a really exciting position to be in. Someone else with a background, with a space background, is going to join us now from the European Space Agency. That's going to be our next speaker. He's now exploring new frontiers, but this time it's in artificial intelligence for moving money. So to tell you more about that, please welcome the CEO and co-chairman from FeedZai, Nuno Sebastião.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would start by putting up a picture of a friend, someone named Alexander Gerst, an astronaut at the European Space Agency. The importance of this picture is that here you see him outside of the space station performing his first ever spacewalk. And what I find interesting is, imagine the years of training that he had to go through for that one particular moment. Years of traveling across the globe, training at different sites, working on this way to go outside, and finally all of it leading to the moment where you step out of the space station and you go outside. But what you go outside to do is actually not the end, not the goal, is not to go outside. You go outside to fix something. But for the first time, he was outside in real space. And what I'll talk to you about today is how those years of preparation led to something that was meaningful for him, but that were just a step on his journey to something bigger, which is our conquest of let's call it the final frontier of space. Myself, I was involved in this activity. I left the space agency a few years ago, and even before this photo was taken, to start a new adventure of applying some of the learnings I had there to financial services. And I never actually had the chance to ask Alexander what it meant to be outside of the space station. But you probably have a feeling that he was looking at this, but in his mind, all he had to do was a job. He had to go outside and perform a task. And he was not thinking about, oh, this is the goal, me being outside as the final step. So that's because there's still so much more that he had to do in that step. It's not the end, it's just another step onto a much longer journey. At the space agency, now talking about my experience, I led a team of scientists, that really smart people, actually smarter than myself, that what we did is build simulations that would allow, with the years of practice, for people like Alexander to go outside and really practice years and years and years before they actually have to do it in real life. Literally trying to understand all the variabilities of what could happen when they went to perform these tasks. So that we would tell ourselves we are the beacon that are used for them to go and explore. And we use this word frontier as a border that separates something that we know, that we're comfortable, with something that we don't know, that kind of makes us feel uncomfortable. So I believe, and I truly believe, that we don't have an idea where the frontiers actually are. We keep on pushing the boundaries. There's always a next step. There's always another limit, be it in space, but also in technology. And there's always new ideas. We're always pushing the envelope of what can be done. And by interacting with each other, we explore and we move forward. Today, artificial intelligence seems to be the new frontier that myself and many others in the industry, my team, we are exploring on how can we apply some of the learnings that we had here, how can we apply artificial intelligence to this particular industry. And the reality is, it's just not artificial intelligence in its theoretical concept. It is what we call attainable AI. Attainable artificial intelligence is something that you don't see it. Like the training that Alexander had to endure is not the end. It's something that is there. It's part of the fabric, but it is not the end of the journey. And most of you would also know that artificial intelligence is actually nothing new. It was actually born in the 50s. So most of the concepts that today people talk about are 60 or 50 years old. It was this gentleman, a gentleman called Arthur Samuel, that built the first artificial intelligence system. And the only thing it did was it could play checkers. It could simply beat a human at playing checkers. So it didn't really have a lot of useful practical applications, but it was a demonstration that using a scoring function, you could measure the chances of winning and possibly taking into account what kind of moves and preempting the moves of a human and leapfrogging him on that, and then win the game. So pretty sophisticated stuff for its time, but really still unusable in practical terms. That AI was very limited. It couldn't do much more than play checkers, but it opened the door for, kept people thinking, what else could we do with this type of technology? What else could we apply it to? Reality is, at the time, it needed a number of other technologies that simply weren't available. Computational power, processing power, etc. So you fast forward 50, 60 years, and we are here today, and we have, in the last 2-3 years, this new wave of attainable AI that's driving this cognitive revolution of how do you apply machine learning techniques to virtually every single industry out there. We are experiencing a time where multiple forces are coming together, and that's what actually makes the technology techniques that were invented 50 years ago, make it a reality. These are stronger parallel computing, cheaper, faster processors that you have out there. You can build really scalable machines on the cost that would not be possible just a few years ago. You have cheaper data storage. You can virtually save and store all the data that is produced today. And you have also mechanisms to process that. So all of this incredible, powerful, and affordable computing is the obvious force that is driving all of it. Key initiatives there, Google and other companies in the late 2000s introduced techniques for processing, things like MapReduce, things like Hadoop, that using many computers working together, they could process and churn faster through a lot of data sets. And more and more innovation kept on building on top of that. People kept on adding faster, cheaper, better algorithms, iterating on top of the algorithms that were invented in the 50s. And then we bring it to fintech. How does this relate to fintech? So we've seen in the last, similar to other verticals, in the last 20 years, the digitization of fintech. All the processes that were done manually before, you're going to an ATM, you're going to a branch, all of that is now done online. Billions of data points and sensors are gathering information. And all of that are interlinked. All of those data points are providing what is called a stream that can feed AI. So we are today at the point where AI is actually, it's taken off really very, you go and see on Google the way it ranks in terms of searches, whatnot, it's the popular term of the day, but it's in reality just a stepping stone on a number of goals, like other utilities. I'll talk about, electricity, where we don't flick a switch for the sake of it. We flick a switch because we want to see at night. We want to have light to cook. We want to do this kind of stuff. So AI is literally just yet another utility. We don't need to build a fire. We turn a gas stove. All of these utilities is something that they become part of the fabric. They're not only beneficial, but easy to use, and they're widely available. So the same, I put, will happen to AI. AI, we're now pioneering, it's starting, but it's becoming truly attainable in a way that is easy to buy, easy to use, and easy to consume. We call it AI like running water. It is, as the other utilities I was mentioning about, just a utility out there. So, bringing it even closer to where we are, to commerce, is now more and more complex. Every year there's more data points, every year there's new payment tokens, there's new payment methodologies, and currency is not money anymore. There are many forms of currency today. You just don't transact today with one bank. You use an app, and transactions, the app that you use actually use the APIs of a number of banks, multiple networks, many different touch points, all of them in one simple interaction. So this complex digital economy has added also new vulnerabilities. Before, if someone wanted to steal money, they literally have to point a gun at you. Today, they do it behind a computer and a keyboard halfway through the world. So armed guards no longer make for good security. Strategies need to be put in place that deal with the fact that everything is now digital. Information is zeros transmitted across satellites and cell towers. So this brings us to a point where we need new tools to keep up with our evolving economy. We need new tools that are flexible enough and dynamic enough that can keep up with new payment methodologies, with new payment approaches. We also need tools that evolve with customers and their own needs. It's all about frictionless experience. It's all about putting in the customer the power and the freedom to do with their own data whatever they feel like. And do this in a way that really it's not there. You don't see it. Like a utility, you do not see it's there. If you think about initiatives such as PSD2 in Europe, the wider open banking initiative is making you as a consumer the owner of the data. And it's on you to take it from bank A to bank B, or payment methodology A to payment methodology B. So it's no longer a single entity that is the owner or the receptacle of your data. It's you as a consumer, you own your data. So the question now becomes, and this is where we're applying AI, how can we ensure that those customers are getting the top-notch experience that they expect while making sure it's secure and safe to trade? We can start, and initial attempts were just trying to understand and do some generic profiling of that. Reality is that people observed that they were not getting the same experience that they did when they knew, when they had humans in the loop, when they had interactions with someone. You hear today a lot of feedback from people that basically says, I want to speak to a person. I do not want to speak to a machine. I do not want to speak to a robot. So, and why? Because robots and machines do not historically understand the subtle differences, the subtle person, what makes you an individual, what makes you a person. You need to understand in a digital way all of those subtleties. So basically, it means that you need to get what we call hyper-granular. When we look at a customer, at a consumer, we need to understand its user behavior so that in a purely online world, we understand who that, unequivocally, who that person is. But this is where AI is the tool to help. It's the one tool today that can take all of the billions of data sets we are producing online and can essentially all make sense of all of the digital interactions we have, not about the payment, not about a transaction, but about a user and the environment on which he acts, understanding what is this person doing, how does it relate to its financial institutions. And with that, if someone tries to impersonate you, understand, well, I know this is not the person because I know the person well enough. And I know every single person well enough to make sure that someone is trying to impersonate. And that's how you prevent risk. And if you have things like real time, where it needs to be done at the speed of events, at the speed at which things are happening. So, with such complexity, it's also fundamental, and this has also been one of the challenges of AI, to explain what it does. Historically, AI has been called something black box. It's really important to understand what goes inside the machine, not only for the auditors in the room, or the compliance people in the organizations, but actually to understand why is it reaching certain conclusions, why is it doing what it's doing. And this is what at FeedZine we're building is what we call a semantic layer on top of all of the interactions we're doing so that we understand the decisions that are being made and we can explain when we flag something as being risky or potentially suspicious. So today we are at a pivotal moment as we continue to build commerce, as banks shift, as APIs are open more and more. There's no more the concept of money, there's payment tokens in very many different forms throughout the world. It's clear that the structure that enables us to make the flow of commerce possible at this scale in a fully online world can only be done keeping frictionless transactions, keeping a frictionless experience can only be done with the use of AI. It's also important that we transact today in many different forms and fashions. It's important to understand and to keep all of that safe. If you think about the way risk is managed or fraud is committed, it's really important to understand where are you coming from, who are you. This is really important because people don't deserve to have their data flowing, which it flows today all across all of these channels. It's their data, it needs to be made safe and not vulnerable to criminal actors. And as we've seen, criminal actors hiding, I cannot stress enough the relevance of this, behind the keyboard and the computer screen can sway everything in today's society, including democracies out there. So all of these trends are important to individuals, important to each one of you as part of the industry, that it is a combination of the frictionless experience with managing risk and keeping everything safe. More than that is, I believe, is an issue that has major implications in society as a whole. Where are we going to be? And by enabling free, frictionless, and secure banking and commerce, we at FeedZine, with the use of AI, manage risk, foster trust, to ensure that communities continue to share and trade with each other. And in the end, that's what I believe everyone in this room wants to achieve. The more we have freedom for ideas to move around, the more value we create for the entire world. Artificial intelligence is the one to help us understand and the right meaning of all of that data that we're producing today, and that I believe will propel us into the future. And at FIDSA, that's what makes us happy, to get up and go to work every day. So with that, I conclude, and I hope you got a feeling for AI and what it can do for financial services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nuno. There you go. Space, not the final frontier at all. Money moving, that's your final frontier with artificial intelligence. So, this certainly isn't the end of this event. It does, however, draw these keynotes to a close. But just before you go, I would like to invite the Money 2020 Europe Content Mastermind onto the stage very briefly. So please welcome Pat Patel.
Thank you, Angela. I was going to say, really, it's the team effort. Our team have worked tirelessly to deliver the details for all of you guys. We pretty much had 4 hours sleeps over the past month. So just a big shout out to the team across the board, from ops to marketing to our beautiful event director and just hundreds of other people. So I just want to say thank you for making this event special, and see you in the DAO.
Thank you very much, Pat. From me, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be here introducing everyone on the keynote stage. I hope you've all really got something useful to take home with you, as well as the pearls of wisdom coming from the stage, that you can take that back and use it, and that life moves on and we're all a little bit more superhero after this event. So I hope you've had a great time. I've had a great time talking to some fantastic people. And if I've met that many fantastic people while I've just been going around chatting, I really hope you have too. Seriously, contacts to keep hold of and people to keep in touch with. And that really makes the difference for me between another event and Money 2020, where I really have met some fantastic people, and you're probably some of them. So thank you very much indeed for your enthusiasm and for your company over the last few days. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you next year.